Greetings, Hempster. Thank you for tuning into another hemp episode of Hemp Aware Radio. This is your entrepreneurial host, Tyler Hemp, here to empower your hemposphere as usual. And today we're diving into the world of CBD and hemp with two amazing guests, Cynthia Cabrera and Ryan O'Keen from Hometown Hero, a company that's not just about doing business with hemp, but really about giving back and making a difference in the world and in the lives of their customers. But before we dive in and share their story and what they're about with this awesome brand that they've got, I just want you to imagine starting a business with a mission, not just to succeed and make money, but to also create a positive impact in your community and in the greater community of the world. And that's precisely what Hometown Hero has done. And their journey's nothing short of inspiring. You'll hear their techniques and some of the things that they're doing to get their story out there, but they came from humble beginnings to becoming a recognized name in the hemp industry. Cynthia and Ryan and their team have faced a few challenges, the typical challenges that hemp businesses go through, but they're able to come through and shine on the other side victoriously. So today we're going to cover their secrets, their strategies, and some of the things that they're doing to overcome some of these tough battles that hemp companies have to go through and how to operate in such a competitive field. And guess what? If you're a hemp entrepreneur looking to fine tune your brand strategy, your brand messaging, or if you need help getting more sales on your website, I'd love to give you a free hemp website marketing audit. Just go to hempaware.com and you'll see right there on the homepage a little form that you can fill out, or just email us at support@hempaware.com. So, my special guests today, as I mentioned, are Cynthia and Ryan. And Cynthia is currently the Chief Strategy Officer at Hometown Hero, this awesome veteran supporting cannabis business offering hemp-derived THC, CBD, and cannabinoid-based products based out of Austin, Texas. And she was appointed May 2022, and she leads the company's local and national advocacy efforts, which include helping ensure the availability and legalization of hemp-derived cannabinoids against product bans, unfair regulations, and excessive legislation and taxation. She also is a founding board member of the recently established Texas Hemp Business Council, which is a nonprofit trade association focused on advancing and protecting hemp-derived products in the Lone Star State. Cabrera recently testified before the Texas Senate Agriculture Committee on May 29th to present the case for keeping Delta 8 and Delta 9 products legal in Texas, which is a big issue in many different states. So we'll get into some of those nitty-gritty details in just a moment. But then we have Ryan O'Keen. Ryan is currently the Vice President of Sales and a partner at Hometown Hero. And he was one of the first, actually the third person specifically to join the team way back in 2015. And Ryan took on the role of building and leading the sales team and has significantly contributed to the company's growth. So I'm excited to ask him a few questions on what he did to get that growth. But since his appointment, Ryan has led the development and implementation of comprehensive sales strategies that align with the company's overall objectives and mission as a brand. And as VP of sales, he identifies target markets, developing pricing strategies, and creates effective sales tactics to promote the company's extensive line of products, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. But I'm excited to introduce you to these amazing hempsters. So thanks for joining me, Cynthia and Ryan. Appreciate you being here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, kind of like the first seed of inspiration for creating this company and how you guys got involved. Could you share just a little bit about how it was founded and what the inspiration was for starting the company?
Yeah, it's funny. I've actually known Lucas for going on 12 or 13 years now. I've been working with him at Hometown Hero for about 10 years, since the very beginning. Me and him both actually come from like the crypto space. So me and him both worked for one of the largest Bitcoin miners in the world. And that's where I originally met Lucas. And so Since then, Lucas has essentially been my mentor in business, has helped me out on the sales and marketing side. And yeah, Lynn Lucas Gilkey is our CEO. He's the founder of the company. And so early on, when we were in the crypto space, we had a few different attempts at running our own companies. And while we were in that space, we discovered vaping devices, the nicotine devices. And so Lucas and I and the rest of the team, one of the things that we used to do during our business meetings was to go over to Lucas's house and we would use the hookah. And that was like kind of our ritual in business was going around the hookah and discussing business. And from that, it kind of evolved with Lucas and the other co-founder, Lewis, started developing their own e-liquid. And after developing a few different flavors and coming up with something that they felt was going to be viable in the market, they went out store to store, went to a bunch of different vapor, tobacco, head shop locations just to get feedback. Literally just gave out the bottles for free and said, hey, call me if you're interested. And that's essentially how Hometown Hero was born. So after those first few free bottles were dropped off, he had an amazing response from it. And later that afternoon, he got the first orders ever into the company. And so that's originally how we started. And one thing about Lucas, our founder, is that he's a veteran, and veterans are very important to him. And he's also just a giver by nature. And that's one of the big things that's very important to us at Hometown Hero is that we try to look for other givers to be on the team as well. It's something that has been something that's been at Hometown Heroes core from the beginning. And that's a message that we've had on all of our products, right? Hometown Heroes supporting veterans with essentially every product that we sell. And from there, the company continued to evolve as we kind of grow within the state of Texas and then slowly turn into a national brand over the next couple of years. And then fast forward a little bit through the Farm Bill. And once the Farm Bill went through, the environment changed within our stores and we had a lot of requests for CBD products. So naturally, we transitioned a little bit into CBD and it worked really well with our customers, especially the veterans as well. So the veterans really liked having the nicotine alternatives and transitioning into CBD. We found a lot of other ways that we were benefiting them as well. We ran with CBD for well over a year. It was a really successful product for us. And as the industry evolved a little bit more, out came hemp-derived cannabinoids. And that's where we first launched our first THC product, which was a Delta 8 blueberry gummy. And from then on, that's where you have the current face of Hometown Hero that you see, which is very much based in all hemp-based products. And it's something that we want to continue to grow and protect, especially in the state of Texas.
So does that mean you stepped away from all of the e-liquid tobacco type products?
Exactly. It just kind of happened naturally. The vapor sales started to kind of go down. The FDA was getting much more involved in the industry, and a few different set of regulations came out as far as how do you ship and transport the product as well. And so we just saw the revenue becoming just a smaller percentage of our overall business, and we just decided, hey, let's fully focus on hemp, and let's totally remove the nicotine side out from the business so we can just go 100% in on hemp.
That's awesome. And Cynthia, you're the chief strategy officer. How did you get introduced to Hometown Hero and what inspired you to want to be a part of the team? Obviously, you're a giver, otherwise you wouldn't be on the team as well.
Well, it's also a wonderful place to work, and the guys are just fantastic. I mean, everybody is just so kind and just they're wonderful. There's a little group of us that's taken trips to Vegas like for shows, and it's just, sometimes you travel with coworkers and you just have no idea what it's going to be like, or it's going to be stressful and you can't wait to peel off from them or whatever. It's the exact opposite of that. It's just such a fun, great group, and everybody's smart and always focused on the business, but having fun too. So I'm very lucky to be here. I mean, it's really great. I used to be in the vape space and I was running a trade association and I quit. And I think I put out a press release on a Monday, and like the next day, Lucas had somehow tracked down my phone number and was calling me to offer me, to ask me to be a consultant for the company. And that was in 2016. So I've consulted for the company since 2016, and, through changes and that kind of thing. And then a couple of years ago, he was like, listen, you're always talking about moving out of South Florida. He's like, why don't you come move to Texas and like, take over this position? He's like, I need some help and help us out and whatever. And so I did. So I started with the company in March, moved to Texas in May of 2022 and never looked back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
So you guys have a pretty clear mission, and being a veteran supported community and company, I know a big part of what you do is giving back, but can you kind of share the core of the mission with Hometown Hero, and how do you guys incorporate that mission into your daily operations?
Do you want to take it or do you want me to?
Oh, you can if you want.
So, and it's always been this way, right? So we'll help everybody if we can, but our focus has been on veterans, and it's a really important thing. And we were just having a meeting earlier talking about this. Veterans, people who are in service, to the country, they are fighting for our country, right? The tenets of that are freedom and liberty. And we hold those same beliefs here at Hometown Hero, that adults should be able to have the freedom and the liberty to use the products that they decide are best for them. So part of our support of veterans is also it's a smaller expression of our overall beliefs that adults should have access to products that they believe that they need, right? That they want to use, they want to enjoy, or helps them make their life better, that kind of thing. So our work with veterans is that of all the people in the country, veterans of all should have the freedom and access to whatever it is that they want, right? They give everything, and so they should get everything. So
Absolutely.
that's kind of like where we start from.
That's awesome. And the name itself, Hometown Hero, just screams veteran to me. Like,
Doesn't it?
is that the impetus of the creation of the name Hometown Hero?
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was something very important from the very beginning. And so, yeah, that's what it stood for from day one, and that's something that we continue today.
Very cool. So to kind of get into your guys' marketing, like there's an expression that came from a book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And it
Right.
sounds like you guys really take that approach. Like you have this deep purpose and mission and vision for what you're doing that kind of drives every choice that you make or decision that you make as a company. And I'm sure you also incorporate that into your marketing, your messaging. And so I'm curious, kind of getting into the strategy side of things. What marketing strategies have you been most effective with using, to promote or get new customers, with your brand, and reaching these specific target markets, veterans, and sort of the ancillary markets that you've been reaching?
No, yeah, definitely. And our marketing has evolved a lot over the years, especially coming from one regulated industry into the next, right? And each has their separate set of hurdles and separate set of outlets that are okay with working with your business, right? And so early on, I mean, it was really tough, right? Especially on the vapor days. It's a nicotine product, so it's very similar to cigarettes and alcohol on how you can market it. And so we were very limited right out the gates on what outlets we could use, right? And the majority of the ones that were available are typically not profitable. And so we went a little bit old school right out the gates, right? We really went back to the original roots of traditional marketing. And so when we started off as a company, we were fully focused on just business to business. We did not sell our products directly to the consumer. So we really relied on getting our products into the stores and then having consumers find us that way. So one of the ways we really built up the stores that we were in early on was using direct mail, literally just sending a postcard out into stores mailboxes. And it seems very old school and archaic, compared to all the other alternatives out there. But for us, it was really a space that had very little competition. We were the only ones in our industry that took the direct mail approach, and it worked really well as far as connecting us with stores across the United States. So we were able to hear all sorts of different things that worked well, say in Texas, things that worked well in Florida or California, in New York, and really listening to the customers on how they find products, what's important to them, where do they find value, right, outside of price. And so taking a lot of those learnings and then adding that language back into our marketing, right? And a lot of the times, the customers and the stores will have the answers for you. I can sit there and try to come up with 100 different ways on how to reach them. But if you just take some time, go out, speak with some consumers or speak with some store owners and just ask them, how are you guys finding products? How are you guys picking the brands you work with? And within about a day, you'll have more of the right answers than you would brainstorming for a week at home.
Absolutely. That's crucial. And I love that your approach to doing direct marketing, which not a lot of people do. It's one of my passions. And I follow Dan Kennedy, who's like the grandfather of direct marketing and doing physical mailers. Like there's nothing more exciting of getting something physical in your hands to look at. It's a lot less likely that someone's going to hit the delete button and throw it into the trash if it's right in their face. And using that feedback, it sounds like you were able to really cater that message to whoever you were sending it to, so that it's almost like they feel like you're speaking directly to them because you understand their language and incorporate that into your message. So that's super powerful. I think a really good insight for others listening to this to incorporate that into their strategy. So do you have like any other examples that you could share that could have contributed to your success, or like specific campaigns that you did where you were like, this was better than anything else you had ever done, or just the most effective approaches? Obviously the physical mailers was a good example. What
And,
was it?
and yeah, as we kind of evolved, going back to kind of like the giving nature of the company, right? So one of the big things we would do was, give 1% of our profits out to disabled American veterans and other charities. And so one of the big things we would do was just promote a lot of that, right? Talk about how much we're giving back, work with different groups, and through some of that PR, some other larger outlets found us. One of the big things that really had probably one of the largest impacts on revenue within the company was when the New York Times reached out to us. And once we got on the cover of New York Times, it really just propelled the brand to a point where we reached a lot of new people that have never heard of Hometown Hero and also have not even really heard of the hemp space. And so from the New York Times article that I believe we got just from a lot of the good things we were doing from the beginning, working with Cynthia to make sure that all of our products were compliant, that they were safe, that they were consistent, and that we were also able to provide that quality not only to veterans but to a bunch of other Americans as well. And so I think, that is what kind of helped transpire into the New York Times article that then got so many more eyes on us. And then from there, it was just really how do we retain this, right? We had a large influx of new customers and new business. And that point, it was really, all right, how do we retain this new set of growth that we found? And so that was a whole separate learning lesson on its own, was, really expanding out the fulfillment center, making sure that we still have the same level of customer experience and the same level as customer support as we were growing as a company. And that is something that's extremely important to us, right? We like to be consistent. We like to do same day shipping. I like to guarantee all my products. And so being able to maintain all those benefits while growing exponentially was a much larger hurdle than we expected.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm curious kind of what you did to implement some of these fail safe approaches, or things to maintain that scalability. Was there like a hiring process, bringing on new people, or systems like programs, or what sort of solutions did you use to scale?
One of the things that's very important to the CEO here is working with experts, working with experts, working with the best. One of the things that's also very important to myself and everybody else up here is personal growth. And one of the ways we feel to have that personal growth and have a shortcut to growing as quickly as possible is having the right mentors. And so for us, that it's a massive thing for us to have work with mentors for people that have already made previous mistakes before and learn off their mistakes so we don't make them. And so one of the things that we've also added in was the limitations of other systems out there, right? As far as other CRM platforms. And so we've developed a lot of in-house systems that allow us to work with our customers in a way that is strictly within our own systems based off of the path that we like to take, right? And so there's not all these extra tools or KPIs that are not important. So we really like to simplify things for the team here, and just so we have the proper optics on what we're doing here, right? As far as where we're investing our cash, where we're investing our cash as far as marketing, and then on the talent side as well. And so when it comes to the talent side, trying to get the experts is number one, and that's why we have Cynthia here, right? As soon as she was out of the tobacco space, Lucas immediately sniped her. And so that's something that's also very important to us. Is like, if we want to have a good company, you have to have a good team. And to find the best people for the team is looking for the people out there that are already doing the right things at the top of their roles and trying to recruit them.
That's really insightful. I appreciate that. So, in order to maintain that scalability, number one, reaching out to the experts, finding the people that have made the mistakes that can help you avoid those mistakes, developing systems, finding software that you can either customize for your own needs or has that sort of flexibility to make your own. And then just having that personal growth mentality, constantly getting better and figuring out the right places to invest your marketing dollars sounds like kind of the foundation of that scalability.
No, definitely. And like you mentioned, Simon Sinek earlier, one of the things that we do twice a week from 9 to 10 a.m. is we get the core team and we all go through books, right? We go through books about scaling up, books about management, books about sales, books about marketing. And so we're all growing in other fields as well. And I think it allows the team to be more well-rounded rather than having a lot of that singular focus. It's good to be 100% focused on what you're doing, but sometimes being in that bubble, you're a little bit unaware of some of the other departments within the company. We operate very closely, and not only do we like to have the personal growth on an individual level, but we also like to implement that in a team setting as well. And so I think that's where we really build up the family style relationship, and then also the confidence and the transparency of the conversations that we're able to have by building that level of trust amongst each other.
That's awesome. It's really important to have that alignment on your team so that you're operating as one unit. So that's really cool. I'm really glad to hear that. So obviously, you mentioned challenges. Every business that gets started has speed bumps and things that they deal with. But in terms of starting out in the tobacco industry, we kind of talked about that and hurdles you had to overcome, and then transitioning into hemp cannabinoid based products. What have been some of the biggest challenges you guys have had to overcome, and what were they, and how were you able to overcome some of those challenges?
If you'd like to talk about the biggest challenge we faced, but it also turned into a little bit of a blessing for us as well.
Well, so Hometown Hero, we were just talking about this. Like, we're very quiet about it most of the time. We don't talk about it too much. But in 2021, after the company had started selling hemp-derived cannabinoid products and doing very well, the state suddenly decided that they were going to ban Delta 8. And I won't get into all the details or whatever, but the ban would have been much bigger than just that. And so Hometown Hero sued the state of Texas. And so every company in Texas that is operating, and every company that sells into Texas, is operating based on the injunction that we got in 2021. So all we were just there. The guys were at a show last week in Houston, and they were talking about how people were so happy to see them, and everybody was just like so grateful. And it's really nice when people recognize that the effort that we put in as a company. But probably the thing that would have stalled this company out right at the outset is if that ban had been allowed to go through the way they proposed it. Right. And so getting that temporary injunction, which we're still operating under, 3 years later almost, and the lawsuit is still ongoing. Right. That's another thing that we have to pay for. And, we do it here in the state. And interestingly, I had a conversation with somebody last week who was asking about the Texas Hemp Business Council and what the goals were and the objectives. And so I was chit-chatting with her and talking to her about it. And she asked me a strategy question, and she said, well, is the strategy just for hometown hero or is it for the entire state of Texas? And I said, well, to be clear, when we filed for that injunction, we could have filed for one just for hometown hero, but we filed broadly for the entire state. So we never go into these regulatory challenges or these legislative challenges with the goal of only hometown hero is going to survive. We are totally fine duking it out in the marketplace and competing, on a level playing field with everybody else, and may the best company win. In the meantime, we have to keep the space open so that we can do that. And we do that. And we get support from some folks financially, which is always appreciated. And, thank you. But that was probably the biggest thing here in Texas. And then, of course, across the country, there's a lot of tension between the marijuana markets and the hemp markets. And so we find ourselves having to defend in a lot of states where marijuana is, medically or recreationally legal, and they don't like the fact that hemp products are there. And then we also have to deal with, a moralistic or prohibitionist approach from somebody who's in a position of power that can, try to take us out. And so we fight on there's never been a war that was fought on one front, right? And we're in a war right now until there is stability across the industry and everything is set. We are in a war, and so we fight it on multiple fronts.
Wow, that's right along the lines of your foundational mission and purpose. Like you're in this for the entire community, not just yourselves. So that totally makes sense that that's the approach that you would take suing the state on behalf of the entire market and all the companies.
That kind of turned into, more PR for us that we didn't expect. It's like usually when you go into a lawsuit in a business, they're almost always bad for business, right? This was one that, we got the injunction in place, which was great for business. And then a lot of news outlets covered what happened, which just brought another, set of customers our way that just weren't aware of us before, which is really awesome and something that we really didn't predict happening going into that.
And we ended up, we sued in Arkansas also because they tried to pass a law that was just so, first they tried to pass, they did pass a bill. So they turned it into a law that would fully restrict the industry. And then it had a provision in there that if and when they were sued because they were trying to ban the industry, then these other provisions would come into play. So, and they were so overly burdensome, and they were meant to make sure that you couldn't do business in the state. So we worked with attorneys in Arkansas to kind of like spearhead the effort to get people to donate to the cause and that kind of thing. And that gave us a little spike also.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard the expression, any press is good press, even when you think it's a negative angle. Most press has a negative angle, but you can turn it around and people will come out of the woodworks to support you. So that's a really cool story.
So in Louisiana, where we did a lot of lobbying and legislative stuff or whatever, we had to deal with the Louisiana Department of Health. And at the time they had a commissioner there who was newly appointed. And I had a call scheduled with them to discuss some issue that we had. And I had done all this research or whatever. And the guy, the one who was the commissioner at the time, he told me on a call, just the two of us, before we moved into the broader call with all his attorneys and his team, he said, I told my team to be careful with you because you sue people. He said, I told them they're really smart. So everybody on your toes. And the upside of that story is that we had this whole meeting and I had all my documentation and all this stuff. And in the end, I was like, so what I hear you guys saying is that I was right. And it was just like dead, so like 7 attorneys and like dead silence. And finally somebody said, yes.
That's awesome.
So
to kind of take a step back and talk a little bit more about this idea of scaling and serving new customers that are coming in and making sure to maintain that consistency and quality. What are some of the ways that you've incorporated into your marketing, into your messaging or communications to sort of provide more value, but also get more value out of the customers that you're bringing on board and make sure you're not losing them? That maybe they meet your your brand and they figure out who you are, but they don't become a customer right away? Like, what sort of systems do you have in place to indoctrinate them into your brand and into your products and make sure you don't lose them as a lifetime customer?
Yeah, I mean we're very hands-on with our customers. So at our office, we don't do any of the remote workers, right? All of our customer support staff, all of our entire sales staff, we all work under one roof. Same with, Cynthia and her team on the regulatory side, our marketing team, the branding team, the product team. And so it allows us just to connect with customers on another level, right? We're very big on phone calls. Live chat is great, email is great, but number one is being able to just make friends with somebody over the phone, right? And really understand where they're coming from and what they're looking for to begin with, right? I can sit there and try to sell all the things that I believe that people would like just because they might be our top sellers, or this one does really good in your region. But that the approach that we found that works the best is just taking time to listen to the customers. I'm a big believer in the listening for 70% and talking for 30%. And typically during that 70% of the conversation, you're able to get enough information to figure out, all right, what is the best product to align them with? Where is their tolerance level at, right? Are they using this for a fun time, or are they using this to have some sort of other benefit, right? Whether it's to help with stress, to help with rest. And so really backing that out from the customer's perspective is really where a lot of our messaging comes from, right? A lot of the language that you see on our site is the language that our customers said to us, right? Their direct reviews. And we like to pull that stuff out because the thing that resonates with the customers the most is going to be other customers, right? It's almost like them selling themselves. And so we
Mhm.
really find that approach just to be super effective. And it's also seems to be tough for other companies in the modern age to operate, right? You'd think just a normal in-house call center or in-house support team would be fairly easy, but post-COVID world with everybody wanting to be remote, and we just found it's very unique to operate still almost in this almost old school business.
I
Just to
think it,
add to what Ryan said, we do a lot of touches with the customers along the way, and we have really great customer service. Like, we do good follow up. People don't have to wait a long, sometimes the question will be, it's a question like customer service can't answer immediately. Well, we don't keep people waiting to get them the answer either. Like, we close the loop on stuff. We make sure that they were satisfied with whatever that answer was.
mhm,
Whatever it is, we make sure that we are responsive.
Yeah,
mhm,
number one on top of everything is like quality, right?
Yeah.
Quality was something that we were huge on from the beginning, and I think that's what allowed us to be successful in a very saturated vapor market early on, was just superior quality. And so we work with a lot of early on went through a lot of different partners, and to try to really get our product to a level that is just it's tough to compete with, right? And over the past year, we've also done a rebrand, a full rebrand of the company to now elevate the look of the packaging, elevate the look of the brand to match the quality of the products as well. And so we have an awesome farm out in San Antonio where we do a lot of our own extraction, right? The entire farm gets converted straight up into live rosin. And so we do things to where, yeah, it may cost us a little bit more. Our products may cost a little bit more because of it as well, but for us, like, quality is what's going to get the reorders, right? Yeah, you can
mhm,
have a cheap product that is right within your budget that may hit some of those benefits you're looking for, but apples to apples, when you find one that hits all of them, right, and is consistent, has all the right certifications, right? All of our products have COAs with potency. We have heavy metals tests. We have pesticides tests. We're GMP certified. We have consumer liability insurance. And so we do multiple layers to not only just have a quality product, but also a quality level of support post sale.
yeah, I can sense that consistent vein through everything: quality team, quality ingredients, quality processes, quality support. Like, That sounds like a really foundational principle that you guys incorporate. And so to kind of go deeper into the product line itself, what are some of the most popular products that you guys offer? I know you have a lot of different products that you offer. What are some of the biggest ones that people love the most?
Our big staples are going to be our 25 milligram Delta 9 THC with live rosin gummies. Those are by far, some of my favorites, our customers' favorite, and those have just been so consistent for us as a product. One of our newest ones that's doing really well is we have THC infused drink packets. And so they're little drink packets that you just add into 16 ounces of water or a typical water bottle. And it has 15 milligrams of Delta 9 THC with B12 and electrolytes for a little bit of energy and to also help you stay hydrated. And so a lot of the reviews on those are for locations that don't allow outside beverages in, right? Like concerts, sporting events, movie theaters. They're using these products to take them into those locations, and these are also fast acting. So they're nano emulsified. So the onset is around 10 minutes until you start feeling the effects. So it's a
Wow.
really cool product that you can take right into the movie theater. By the time you start drinking it and you feeling the effects, the movie's starting. And so it's a
Wow.
really solid product that whenever we develop new products, it's really just listening to our customers, right? And that's how we originally found the Delta products, was just listening to our customers about what are they seeing, what are they hearing, and that's really how we develop products as well. And so once we do
Hmm.
a product launch, it's up to the customers to vote with their money to see, hey, is this a successful product? Is this something that we should keep in the system, year round, or is this something that is a little bit lackluster and we'll turn it into a seasonal product.
Most definitely. That's cool. So the nano emulsified product is pretty cutting edge. There's not a lot of options for a product like that on the market, right? That's a newer type product for just adding to any beverage that you want.
Definitely, definitely. And then we have a really a wide range. We really try to cover our bases from the entire journey of someone using hemp. And so whether it's your first time using it, we have really low dose microdose options where it's around 2 milligrams of Delta 9 THC, all the way up to some of our strongest products around 100 milligrams Delta 9 per gummy. But the
Wow.
larger gummies are also scored in a certain way where they can be divided up if you're not interested in taking that many milligrams.
Hmm. Very cool. So you guys are offering your products on your website. What channels do you find are the most effective to reaching your audience? Are you on social media, going to live events, doing cold calling, cold emailing? What channels to get to your customers have you found to be most effective?
Live events are great from like a branding perspective, right? Depending on the scale, a great way to connect with the customers. As far as ROI on events, it's usually a tough call. And so for us, it's really social and SEO. So SEO is massive, as I'm sure you know, people looking for reviews, looking for information. And so for us, we have a really well built out blog that we love to keep up to date to really just find those customers that aren't sure yet, right? A little bit on the fence, about to make that decision. And so the SEO side is one of the major ones, and it's one of the ones that you can do in a regulated industry. The other side of it is, paid ads through social, which is just a tougher one because there are limitations and a lot more hurdles there, right? Where you may have more frequent shutdowns on your accounts. You'll have a lot more ads that get killed while they're in the middle of the budget, right? And so you're constantly reconfiguring. And so even for us, it's still one that every day we're figuring out, how to maintain our ads when it comes to social. And there's certain platforms that have opened up more to that, right? Like X or Twitter seems to be a little bit more progressive when it comes to adding in adult products, whereas Facebook and Instagram have a little bit different set of terms and conditions when it comes to advertisers.
Hmm. Most definitely. That's great. And then I didn't hear you say physical mailers. Are you guys still taking that approach, like sending out postcards either to existing customers or prospective customers?
Yeah, it is. It was something that we almost overdid it a bit early on, right? In the first few years of the company, it was funny. We'd go to shows and they would call us, "You guys are the direct mail guys. You guys are the direct mail company. I always get your mail, right?" And luckily, we've evolved into the company that's helped save hemp in Texas, right? Almost nobody
Hmm.
remembers those mailers, but yes, we still do the mailers, just not at the same scale that we did previously. And a lot of competition came into the space, and the mailers, just like most channels that just are so effective in the beginning, they just lose their steam as more people find out about them.
That's a good insight too. Like whatever company you run, decide, and sometimes it just happens automatically, but what do you want to be known for? Like what is that unique differentiator? What's the story you're telling? What do you want people to remember you for? And so that's cool. You shifted from the direct marketing hemp company to the company that saved hemp in Texas. It's a good transition.
Yeah, because if you don't have a story or you're not telling your story, the customers will make that story for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, very cool. We'll just have a couple questions to kind of wrap it up here, and I really appreciate your insights thus far. When you guys look into the future of this industry, of the cannabinoid market or the hemp industry at large, what is your perception of it? How do you see it going? Do you see it becoming more restrictive? Do you see it opening up more? Like what sort of products do you anticipate coming down the market, coming down the line that will be really popular or lucrative? Like if somebody's getting into this industry, what do you suggest that they sort of focus on or how to anticipate those trends that are going to be coming?
Well, if somebody were contemplating getting into this industry today, I would say to be very careful about what state I chose to put my business in, right? Because every state has different regulations. And so, depending on what state you ended up with, it could dictate what types of products you're able to sell at all. And, for example, if you were going to try to get into the California market, you would not make any money, right? There would be no point in it. There wouldn't be any point in it. But for example, if you wanted to go to Texas or Florida or something like that, you'd have a lot more options about the products that you're able to sell. The other thing that I would tell somebody who wanted to get into this business is that you have to have nerves of steel. I mean, I always joke this business is not for the faint of heart, right? There are challenges all the time, but that's what happens when you're in a brand new industry. I mean, what are we, 4 years in, 5 years into the industry? It's brand new. This is like a toddler industry, right? It's not anywhere near settled yet. And for a lot of people, that uncertainty is like they're not comfortable with it. And so you have to be willing to roll with whatever's coming and just kind of grit your teeth and do it. What happens in the future depends largely on, what happens in the marijuana space, meaning that a lot of marijuana people are realizing that they're wasting their time over there, not making any money, and so they're moving into the hemp market. Or does does the prevailing sense become, well, we need to just legalize marijuana and kill the hemp industry altogether, which is not what Congress wanted, right? That the whole reason for legalizing hemp was that they wanted a hemp industry. So I do think the future looks bright. I mean, here at the office, I don't bet on losers. So I expect the future to be bright. And for somebody who wanted to get into this industry, do your research. I'm always amazed at the number of people who come to me with like basic questions. And I'm like, well, you should Google that, because if you're going to make business decisions, there are things that you need to know. For example, if you're going to sign a lease on a building, right? You want to know if there are rules concerning whether you can sell your product. Is the building near, for example, a school, right? Because that might impact whether you can sell certain products there, things like that. So you just want to, I love information, and I take information all the time, and sometimes it just sits in my head. But at some point, we use it here in the office, like a little tidbit comes up and it's helpful for us. So I think the future looks bright. And I think, as I tell everybody here also, and I push myself, make good decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's definitely crucial to have those nerves of steel and do your due diligence, do your research, and back to what Ryan shared in the beginning of finding a group of people that know more than you, that are experts, and kind of bring them on board is another good insight there. But did you have any thoughts you want to share on that, Ryan?
Yeah. When discussing, the product side, I mean, again, like Cynthia said, this industry is still so new. So, I mean, there's no Coca-Cola yet, right? There's no large brand that has really just dominated. And so really all the products are available out there. And it's really, just like with any business, I like the idea of, yeah, same with like the CEO here, of failing fast, right? Just come up with something. Come up with something that you feel confident, that you know about, and go out there and get feedback on it. Try to give it away for free. If people don't want it for free, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to sell it, right? And so a lot of people get stuck in the idea phase, the brainstorming phase. You really just need to create something and go to market and get feedback. And that is where you're going to learn more doing that than you will anything else, right? Just putting yourself out there, asking for honest feedback, and seeing if people even want to try your product. As far as like any sort of recent trends in specific product categories, one of the things that we're seeing start to get pretty big is the beverage industry, right? So THC seltzers, THC juice box, like not juice boxes, but like the more organic style plastic bottles, right? We're seeing the beverage side finally start to really pick up and grow, just because it is one of those products that on a fulfillment logistics side, it's more heavy, right? You need sometimes refrigerated trucks. So it is one of those SKUs. As far as your first product, it's going to be a little bit expensive. It's a little bit more difficult than say a gummy, or trying to get some joints made, right?
So yeah, investing in products that have a longer shelf life, less likelihood to spoil, and just getting it out there. Just fail fast, like you said, fail forward. Getting that feedback and making the adjustments is a
Yeah.
good way to follow the trends and get that feedback from people.
Yeah,
For
the
sure.
CEO and I both have, probably three or four or more. He probably has, eight, failed businesses behind us. And so once you fail enough times, you really just you become a little bit fearless, right?
Nerves of steel.
Yeah, it just doesn't affect you that much anymore. I have a
Mhm.
wife, and I have a kid, so there's times where I'm like, all right, I got to go back to the corporate world for a little bit, and get some capital back in, and then go risk it again, right? But I feel like anybody, that's in a reasonable age, right? You're not in your 50s or your 60s, right? I say go risk it, right? Go risk it, because at the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen is you go right back to the corporate world and do what you're doing beforehand, right?
I think Colonel Sanders was in his 60s
Oh,
when
really?
he
Yeah,
hit it
yeah.
big with Kentucky Fried Chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think nobody on their deathbed said, "I wished I would have taken less risks in life."
Exactly.
Well, I really appreciate your insights here, and the conversation has been really helpful. I'm sure our listeners are going to be grateful to learn about you guys. Where can they find you on the socials, the websites? Like, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, our website is hometownhero.com. Our Instagram page is hometown hero ATX.
We've got our own YouTube channel that
Yeah.
anybody can find by just searching for Hometown Hero.
Yeah, and that's an awesome page that we're really building out right now to just educate more people on hemp, on the laws. And so Cynthia and our founder and CEO, Lucas Kilkey, do multiple videos on there a month. And so it's an awesome resource to just kind of stay tuned. And if anybody out there has questions, we love just to try to add value to people where we can. So if any of your listeners just have more in-depth questions in regards to business, marketing, the space, how to obtain a hemp license, what states do we recommend? My email is ryan@hometownhero.com, and I'd love anybody with questions to reach out. And yeah, we're always here to try to build the community here in Texas, and strengthen the businesses out there.
Right on. Thank you so much for that. And then my last question that I like to propose to all my guests on the show is a little more on the philosophical side. But if you were standing on a stage and the entire world audience was in front of you and you had, say, 30 seconds to share one message with them, what would you want them to know?
Man, we're just hometown heroes in this to love, man, and to love and give back. Really that's the thing for me. That's the core thing that keeps
Yeah.
me here. Whether we were selling coffee or candles, it really doesn't matter to me. It's like, man, the team here is my family, right? I'm here 8 days a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. See them more than my family, and so for me, it's just yeah. We're here to love and we're here to give back. And I think if you just maintain those types of traits, the universe is waiting to reward you.
Amen. Very cool. How about you, Cynthia? What would you share with the world if you had 30 seconds?
It's easy to say, but it's to push through the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it anyway.
Send
Amen.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
do it. That's what we
Just
do.
send
We're
it.
like, we can spend a lot of time talking about stuff and whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, we're gonna push the button or not push the button. You know?
Yeah. Your biggest hurdle is typically yourself.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the number one thing
Mhm.
holding almost everybody back is the thing between your ears is holds you back from a lot of cool things out there.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Nice. So my summary of that is give the love, be of service, and push through the fear.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of Hemp Aware Radio. See you on the next one.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
We appreciate it.